If I could ask you to watch one video of mine all the way through, it would be this one. I really want to give you an update on how things are currently going with trying out Cimzia to help control my autoimmune diseases, most notably my Crohn's disease, ankylosing spondylitis, psoriasis, and alopecia. To be 100% honest with you, it's not going very well for me in terms of how I'm managing my chronic illnesses and how the medication is working for me. It really has been difficult for me, both mentally and physically, and I'll touch on both of those. I think I'm personally having a hard time coming to grips with the fact that I have 4 autoimmune diseases when I really thought that Crohn's was going to be my biggest obstacle to overcome. But of course, life is full of obstacles, right? And we can't plan for everything. And unfortunately, I'm in a situation where having to deal with some really difficult health issues. And to add on top of that, during the same time, I accepted a position that I don't know now was the right choice. At the time, I felt like was the right choice, but it has been the most difficult situation I've ever been in my entire career. It has put a lot of strain on both my physical ailments that I'm dealing with, as well as my relationships with people, my mental health, and it's just been all around a really hard time for me, and I want to be totally open and honest about that. And even if I wanted to wait until the exact right moment to film this video, like there's never going to be this perfect moment where I'm feeling great and I'm doing totally fine and life is going awesome for me. Like that's just not the reality. I was able to accept my new normal with Crohn's disease, but since being diagnosed with 3 other diseases, I've been having a really hard time adapting to a new normal. And to be honest with you, I haven't adapted to a new normal barely at all. I have been pushing so hard and harder in certain areas of my life than I ever have, which is not helping me physically. And of course, it's not helping me mentally either because I feel a lot of guilt with what I'm doing. I feel a lot of mental strain, fatigue that is obviously a result of my illnesses, but also the situations I'm putting myself in. And so, yeah, I just wanted to be really honest about that. I don't ever want anyone to look at me and be like, wow, she is doing all these incredible things while dealing with all of these illnesses. How is she doing it? She's superwoman. I am not superwoman by any means. I've been struggling to sleep. At times I cry myself to sleep because I'm just so upset with what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through and having a hard time accepting that. We're coming up on 3 months of me taking Cimzia to try to help manage my chronic illness symptoms. And this is really interesting and something I don't hear a lot of people talk about. Cimzia is often the go-to biologic for people who are trying to get pregnant because it's one of the most pregnancy safe options. Now, I made this switch because of that reason, but also the Humira wasn't working like it used to for me, and my body had built up some antibodies against it, so it only made sense. I had heard a lot of really great things about Cimzia working for people. My rheumatologist also really praised it, and so I put a lot of faith and trust that this was going to be the right decision, while also knowing that it may not work out for me. We're nearing the 3-month mark of taking Cimzia. At this point, I feel like it really should be pulling its weight. I did come off of the prednisone for a little while, but then I went back on it once I started getting really bad psoriasis patches on my hands that were very itchy. My hair was starting to fall out again. Some of the bald patches were coming back in the back of my head, and that scared me a little bit. The back pain for me is manageable if I just take a leave morning and evening, which obviously isn't ideal. I want the Cimzia to really pull its weight. So at this point, I'm almost off of the prednisone again, and I think I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that because I don't want to be on prednisone any longer. I'm not a fan of the side effects. It's just not a medication that I enjoy taking, and I think a lot of people can say that, although it definitely works and it's very helpful. But right now, these next 2 weeks are crucial to see if the Cimzia can indeed hold its weight and pull its weight with these autoimmune diseases. And if it can't, then unfortunately I will have to look into other options, and I don't even know what other options I have that are pregnancy safe. Something interesting that I found is that a lot of people switch to Cimzia from whatever they are taking for a biologic because they want to get pregnant. And then they take Cimzia throughout their pregnancy and they're like, oh yeah, well, Cimzia works great. And then they usually hop back to whatever biologic they were on before. I do think some of those people stay on Cimzia, and I'm not sure if it continues working well for them, but I'm thinking a lot of these success stories with Cimzia are because when you are pregnant, a lot of people say that like your baby heals you, or there's something about pregnancy that puts you into remission with your autoimmune diseases. is. And that's why I think people are thinking that Cimzia is working better than it actually is. Something really incredible that I experienced this past week is that I met a coworker that actually has ankylosing spondylitis. She also takes Cimzia, she used to take Humira, and her rheumatologist suspects that she has Crohn's disease. She also deals with psoriasis, and she started Cimzia about a month after I did, and she's not seeing a lot of success with it either. Now, not just to go off of that, because obviously we are different people. One might work well for one of us, the other might not work well for the other person. For her, Humira wasn't working well, and so that's why she's on Cimzia. But for me, Humira worked really great for the 2 years that I took it. I do believe that finding someone who has the same chronic illnesses that I have has been incredibly helpful for my mental health, just to know that even someone at the workplace understands what I'm going through, understands the struggles, understands the brain fog and fatigue that are often really hard to explain to someone who doesn't go through it themselves. So that has been really great for me to kind of focus on the positive side of things. Unfortunately, since being back to work full time, because it does put a lot of physical strain on me, I have been having a harder time keeping up with tasks that normally I didn't have that much difficulty with, such as vacuuming and mopping. Mopping being the most notably difficult for me right now. That's one of the things that, like, every time I mop, I am in so much pain with my back afterwards and the next morning. Even while on the prednisone, I would wake up in the morning with some pretty bad back pain and stiffness, but after consuming it, I would get noticeably better within an hour or two. I would be fine all day into the evening sometimes, and then in the morning, wake up and kind of do it all over again. I was saying it is really hard for me because once my hair starts falling out, I have those dry, itchy patches on my scalp. They start oozing. I'm losing a lot of hair. I already deal with really low self-esteem, and it honestly becomes really hard for me to have to be realistic in that the back pain is what physically makes my life really, really difficult. And so even throughout these 2 weeks, if I start losing my hair again, I have to be okay with it, and then I gotta go back to the doctor and have them try something else. The other thing about Cimzia that's so difficult for me is that I cannot inject it myself. I just can't get over the hurdle of like my fear of needles. It is a very thick liquid medication to inject, and the needle is exposed, it's long, it's thick, and it is just everyone's nightmare to have to do that every other week. Humira was really great because you never have to see the needle. The needle is not exposed in a way that's visible to the eye. The injection is a lot quicker, the medication volume is a lot smaller, and it's a lot thinner, and so it's a very painless kind of injection. Cimzia is not that kind of injection. And so I have my husband actually inject this medication for me because I just can't get over it. I tried to inject it myself. I actually just bounced the needle off of my skin, and after that I was really scared to try. Maybe in the future I will get to the point where I can inject it myself. I'm sure I can get there, but for now, I'm just not there yet, and that's okay. If needed, I also have some friends that can help me with the injection, and I could also just go to the doctor and have them inject it for me. But yeah, there is an update on what's been going on with my health. I was really sick the past few weeks. When you're on those biologic medications, they suppress your immune system, so it can be quite difficult for you to get over even just a small cold. And for me, I was having a hard time with coughing, waking up coughing, lots of mucus in my throat, very dry, very tired voice, and I had a hard time filming a video for YouTube. But I'm happy I'm able to film this for you today, give you a little bit of a life update on how Cimzia is working for me as someone who has multiple chronic illnesses. And I do hope that in the future I have an update that says, hey, it's working great for me now. I don't know if we'll be there. I'm trying to still stay optimistic because I would like to remain on this medication if possible. And like I said, I just want to be done with the prednisone because while it does help, I'm not a fan of the side effects, and it's not pregnancy safe, and it's not good to take long term. I also started the carnivore diet exactly 3 weeks ago, and now I'm not 100% carnivore. I would say I'm about 85-90% because I get to this point where I think my body is going into ketosis and I feel so sick and I still have to work. And so to push through that, I do consume some carbs here and there, very little amounts. And I'm not even someone that loves meat, but I've been really enjoying having bison that also has bison heart and bison liver. Same thing with beef. I enjoy salmon a lot. Eggs are great, but they are expensive and really hard to find right now. I already love cheese. I just make sure that it's an aged cheddar cheese because I am lactose intolerant. And I do want to say overall, I feel like I've noticed benefits from trying out this carnivore diet that I'm just going to keep going for a bit longer and see if that's something that I want to continue with long term. I've read a lot of really great anecdotal stories as well as some studies on how carnivore has worked for people. I just never thought I would be one to do it because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of meat. And if I do consume meat, it has to be like high quality. It's going to be expensive. But I do find that it has been easier to meal prep and cook and adapted to my lifestyle. My protein intake has gone way up. I feel fuller for longer. And I do feel that some of my chronic illness side effects aren't as bad as they were when I was consuming a lot more carbs and sugar. I'm sure carnivore is not right for everyone, but I just wanted to give it a try. And so here we are, and here's a little update on that. Thank you for tuning into this update video. I really appreciate your support watching my stuff on this channel. I don't make any money online. I just do this for fun and for a hobby and to share my story. And if you really enjoy my content, make sure you like this video, subscribe, leave a comment. And yeah, I just really appreciate you watching my content and being here. And the online community can be really supportive, and I appreciate you, and I really want you to know that. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.